takes from that game that we'll get to at 1:30. Some recruiting news, some good, some not as good for LSU. Cat Terrell is going to join us at 2 o'clock. She covers the Saints for ESPN, so she'll be with us at the top of hour number 2. We'll meet the freshmen. 4 to go, so we'll get to 2 of those today. AP polls out. ESPN's got its preseason All-American team out. Of course, there's take it or leave it. There's drama in Memphis/Oxford. There's a lot to get to. But I'm just going to start where we normally start this time of year, and that's with LSU football. I was able to get out to the entire practice on Saturday. That's kind of rare for me, as I can generally pop over for 20, 30, 40 minutes here or there and then get back for meetings or to get ready for the show or whatnot. But on a Saturday, I can pretty much get over there and take it all in, which I did. And I had some thoughts, some of which are adding to narratives and storylines from camp, and some which I kind of saw for the first time on Saturday. So let's kind of dive into that here on this Monday. The offense, to me, just continues to look very good. At times, the defense punches back, and at times, the defense makes plays here or there, but the majority of the time, the offense is humming, if not the vast majority, in my opinion. Now, some of the drills are tailored to the offense, and we understand that, especially early on when nobody's got pads on and you're not rushing the passer and just kind of playing out in space. That generally benefits the offense. But they had the full pads on Saturday, and they did some 11-on-11, and they did some 7-on-7, did some red zone stuff. And to me, the offense just looks very, very good. Malik Neighbors is nearly unstoppable out there, no matter who they've got on him, whether it's a freshman brand new out there or it's LSU's most veteran corners. They have a real difficult time dealing with Neighbors. He was making a lot of plays in the red zone period, scoring touchdowns. Kyron Lacey continues to have a very good camp on the outside. He showed his strength and size on Saturday in some of the drills that I saw and some of the 11-on-11. And I continue to think that Aaron Anderson's having a really, really strong fall camp. On Saturday, he did not have that sleeve that he had on early in camp. He's a full go, and that's not brand new news. But I think, to me, those 3 guys and Brian Thomas have kind of established themselves as the top 4. I think Chris Hilton is a really talented player. He met with the media today. I think if you had to have him go out there and play, he could absolutely do it. I think the freshmen are supremely talented. Parker runs great routes. Shamson is so physically gifted and fluid in terms of his running. Jaylen Brown is maybe the fastest guy on the team. Like, there is a lot of depth and a lot of talent in the wide receiver room, but I think the top 4 are pretty clearly Neighbors, Lacey, Thomas, and Anderson, and I think that's a really, really good unit. As I mentioned, they had that red zone drill, which was 7-on-7, and in my opinion, the offense just picked the defense apart. You had Nussmeier hitting some on the rollouts. You had Jaden Daniels letting it go. And again, there's no pass rush, and you're asking him to cover for a long time in some instances, but it just felt like the offense was really cooking in that red zone drill. When they got to 11-on-11, one of the things that jumped out to me, they were doing a lot of inside runs. And the LSU defense did a pretty good job stopping on some inside runs in the middle of the field. This was not in the red zone portion. And I'm watching, and they hand the ball off to a running back, and there's a huge collision at the line of scrimmage between a linebacker and a running back. And the running back clearly wins it and falls forward 5 or 6 yards and then gets up and is fired up. And I went, oh, that was Caleb Jackson. And I got as close to Caleb Jackson physically as I have in camp on Saturday. That's a big dude. Like, he's big. And again, I think that the veteran running backs are significantly ahead of the freshmen at this point. I look at Josh Williams, I look at John Emery and Noah Kane and Logan Diggs, and those guys to me are going to get the lion's share of the carries. But just speaking in truths, Caleb Jackson's a big dude, and we know based on his times and on his tape in high school, he's got a lot of speed too. So the physical gifts for Caleb Jackson are undeniable. I think his playing time might be a little bit deniable at this point because I think that there are some veteran guys that are going to take those spots. But I did get to see him run a little bit and was impressed with the physicality. This is a roundabout way of kind of weaving through and talking about some offensive players and talking about some things I saw, and then getting to maybe a bigger point here. And the bigger point is that I think at this point, it is fair to question LSU's secondary. I phrase it that way intentionally. I don't say this is a bad secondary. I don't say they're in big trouble. I'm just saying for years, we just kind of given LSU's secondary the benefit of the doubt because they usually had 5 stars. They usually had Thorpe finalists. They usually had first-round picks. Like, that's the groups we've looked at. You know the names by now. I'm not even going to go through any of them. You know what LSU's done in terms of defensive backs, star power at this level, and then sending them to the next level early for long careers. It's as good a history as there is in recent college football. I don't see the first-round pick out there. I see a transfer from Southeastern who has good size and looks the part of an SEC corner. I see a transfer in from Syracuse who's a little bit short and not necessarily an elite level athlete. Of course, I'm talking about Deuce Chestnut. He got beat by Brian Thomas on a play in 11-on-11, and the throw was a little bit late getting out to Thomas. I think it was Daniels on the throw, and it was just a touch underthrown. And Chestnut recovered, closed, and knocked it away at the catch point, which was a really good instinctual ball skill play, but he did get run by. You look at Sage Ryan. Talent, sure. Has it been awesome for 2 years? Probably not. Greg Brooks has missed some time. He said today that he's been dealing with vertigo and he's going to be back. But he needs to get back on the field. Javian Toviano, super talent. He's a freshman. Ashton Stamps is moving forward, getting a lot of reps with the 2s, some with the 1s. He's a freshman. Denver Harris running with the 3s and 2s. I asked for a Q&A on Twitter on Saturday saying, hey, for some reason I got time wrong and I got there 45 minutes early. So I was sitting in the parking lot and just scrolling through my phone. Said, hey, give me some Q&As. And almost all the football questions were directly about the secondary. And I will sit here today and tell you it is fair to question that group. Now, it might really work out. But it's fair to question it at this point based on past accomplishments, lack of production returning on the LSU team, and the fact that they're getting beat a little bit by this really strong offense. I think that's fair. Now, as far as the defensive front goes, the worst part of practice by a long shot was a 4-minute interval. They're running that 11-on-11 that I'm telling you about. They're running some inside runs, really working on running the ball, blocking it, and they run a running play up the middle, goes for 2 yards, uneventful play, and all of a sudden, bang, I see 0 hit the ground behind the line of scrimmage. And 4 trainers run out there. Brian Kelly's right out there, and they just keep on practicing 20 yards in front of this, but Mason Smith's laying on the ground looking at his knee. And I'm standing off to the side going, I cannot believe what I'm looking at. Cannot believe this. He plays half a series last year. I'm out here at practice, and he goes down. He's holding his knee. And for 4 or 5 minutes, he was down. And then he hopped up, walked off a little gingerly, grabbed some water, walked off right next to the media, and a teammate said, you good? He said, yeah, I'm good. Now, I don't think he was a full go today. It sounded like when I read Matthew Bruni's practice report on 3 that he was limited today. But he was out there at least. So that was the worst part. When I'm looking down at LSU's potentially second, third best player, and he's holding his knee again, I'm going, I cannot believe this. But it seems like Mason Smith is going to be just fine. And the last thing from practice, as I kind of weave through a bunch of notes in my notebook here, I just Jaden Daniels to me is outperforming Garrett Nussmeier by an amount. Like, it's not like Nussmeier looks terrible or Jaden Daniels is just vastly outperforming, but just practice in, practice out that I've been to, Daniels has clearly been the better option. He's been more accurate. He's obviously got a little more athleticism. Like, we're not trying to determine who the starting quarterback is going to be. We know who the starting quarterback is going to be. Jaden Daniels is the starting quarterback. But for those that kind of looked at what Daniels did last year and liked the upside of Nussmeier and his kind of gunslinger mentality and throwing the ball down the field, Daniels just looks better. He completes more percent of his passes. He makes more accurate throws, and we know how well he runs. So that's not news at all. It's the opposite of news. It's old, but it's something that I've kind of made a mental note of over the time that I've been out there. Yeah, you know what? Daniels is the guy, and that's the right guy to have out there. So that's a look at what I saw at practice out there on Saturday. They were back out on the Ponderosa today. We're going to hear from defensive coordinator Matt House coming up as he met with the media on Saturday. So come back and Here's some Matt House on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It is storm season. Don't let the power go out in your home. Boudreaux's Electric can help you with that. Neil and Melissa Boudreaux have operated Boudreaux's Electric for 40 years. They've got some real high-tech equipment. They're on the cutting edge, but they operate like a small family business, which is what we love down here in South Louisiana. All their employees at Boudreaux's Electric are full-time employees. They don't contract anybody out. So if you have a generator that's being put in to power your home, it's not going to be just some guy they pulled off to work that day. Full-time employees over at Boudreaux's Electric. All their generators come with a 10-year warranty. Awesome. And they can customize the generator to your home. Maybe you want one that runs the whole house. You're not leaving when the power goes out. You want the whole house running. They can do that. Maybe you just need the refrigerator and freezer to rock and roll. They can do that as well at Boudreaux's Electric. They've had the same phone number for 40 years. Get your phone out and put this number in. Call Boudreaux's Electric and have them put a Generac generator in your home. The phone number is 985-397-1562. Again, that's 985-397-1562. It's Boudreaux's Electric.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Carrot, the filibuster, or the steak of the union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks, all with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done, or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before in a 2023 Infiniti QX50 at your local Infiniti retailer.
I've been doing business with Luber for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients. Our folks.
Matt Moscona invited to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. Tigers back on the practice field. We'll have a practice report, and we'll recap Saints Chiefs. What did we learn? We'll talk about it Monday, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So by now y'all know that I handle the pre and post game for the LSU Sports Radio Network during football season. We're on 2 hours before kickoff, and then 30 minutes after the games go final. We'll be back in action this year with my guys Brandon Taylor and Marlon Favorite. As part of that show, we always, for the pregame show, have an interview with an assistant coach. And so I've gotten a chance to talk to all the assistants for the last 6 years. And sometimes you have long-winded guys. Sometimes you have guys who are a little more concise with their words. Like Dave Aranda, I do about a 3-minute interview with the assistant coach. I could get about 2 questions in with Dave. He was going to dive in, get philosophical, go through the entire thing. He was going to be really, really wordy. Steve Ensminger, going to give you about 2 sentences. That's about what you're going to get from Steve. So I always kind of know that going in when it's the second time, but when it's the first time, you got to be prepared to ask a lot of questions. They're going to be quick. And I can tell you from my interview with Matt House last year, he's pretty quick. He is going to give you the answer, and that's going to be the answer. So I appreciate that, but you just got to be prepared for it. So he met with the media on Saturday, and he took a lot of questions, and he was pretty quick with his answers as well. There's not going to be a lot of opining from LSU's defensive coordinator entering his second year, but he did speak to his comfort level as opposed to a year ago.
I think comfort's kind of a relative term. You know, I don't think anybody ever wants to be comfortable, but what you do see is you understand the expectations, right? We're not all trying to learn Coach Kelly's program, and really we now know exactly what our traits are and what they look like, exactly what our process is and what it looks like. Now, there's an expectation for those that return that we take that to the next level.
And I think that's kind of a cliche way of saying, like, this is good. We've got our feet on the ground here. Like, we know what we're doing. We've been here before. Nobody's learning anything wildly new. Last year, we're trying to get everything installed and understand what Coach Kelly wants to do, and the players are trying to figure out what I'm trying to do, and I'm trying to get with Coach. Like, that's something that LSU's been dealing with for 4 years. No more. They've got their coordinators, and they're pushing off the dock in year 2, feeling good about where they are. But I think, as I mentioned in the last segment, the position group that's going to get the most discussion and draw the most questions is that secondary. And I think that's totally fair based on lack of returning production, all these guys' backgrounds, and kind of what we've seen early in camp where the offense is humming a little bit. And House talked about the competition specifically out at cornerback.
Yeah, I think guys are still competing for roles at this point. You know, you see good things out of them. What we're looking for is consistency. Day in and day out, exhibiting our traits and really being the guy that you can count on every snap. You know, we've had guys that have flashed. You know, Deuce strung a couple practices together earlier this week. Ashton Stamps is growing up fast. Zai has done some good things. We just got to continue to grow.
And that kind of reiterates what you've probably heard from us on this station, or if you subscribe to a site or a newspaper that's giving practice reports. Like, most of the time the offense is winning, but every once in a while there are some flashes where the defense bows its neck, and those are kind of the guys you're looking at to do it. It's Alexander on the outside. It's Deuce Chestnut on the outside. Talked about Ashton Stamps. That's somebody we started to talk about last week, is a freshman who's ascended more quickly than we probably thought that he would based on his recruitment coming out of Rummel. But it's the names, you know, but it's whether or not they can step up and be the guys. And that's what LSU's waiting for. So right now, when you go out to practice, you do see a lot of guys moving around. I mean, it's not just Greg Brooks being out. It's, you know, playing 3 safety looks that include Andre Sam. It's looking at where Javian Toviano or Sage Ryan mix in. Do they play back at safety, or do they bump up at nickel? And that's a question that Matt House took, is like, how much moving around are the safeties and nickelbacks doing?
During camp, we're trying to move those guys around, and we're trying to do that to create depth and competition. You sort of broaden your horizons as a football player when you see things from different views, right? And that makes you multiple on defense. So with those guys that have played a lot of football, the Majors, the Dre Sams, the Greg Brooks, even Sage Ryan, yeah, we're moving them around and we're challenging them to learn.
I talk to Brandon Taylor about this all the time when he does his work with us on the network. And when he was there, they learned every position. Brandon came in as a corner, ended up moving back to safety. But you had, Ron Brooks, who was trained at a bunch of different spots for that team. Who knows where Tyron was going to be standing at that point. So they were always trained to play every single spot. We saw Tyron back up and play safety one time for that 2011 team, and that's the team that Brandon always references when he's talking about cross-training at all the different spots. So for this situation, that's what they're trying to do, and I think part of that is so what your role is at every single position. So if somebody goes down and you have to move during the course of a game, like where you're supposed to be. But it also is the coaching staff trying to figure out who's best at what, because you just don't have a lot of returning guys into their exact spot. I think Major Burns would qualify there. He's a safety. He's going to come back and play a lot of safety. But like Brooks moved around a little bit. He played some nickel. He played some safety last year. Sage has moved around. He's played mostly nickel and dime. But you gotta move some guys around, and they're certainly doing a good bit of that. Now, the one guy we haven't talked about in this discussion is Zy Alexander, who's kind of establishing himself as the number one corner at this point. That's not decided yet, but we're moving in that direction. And Matt House talked about what stands out about Zy Alexander.
I think his length and how smart he is. He is a smart player, and, that's a trait we value. You can tell he's a high school quarterback, and his length. His length helps him on the edge.
Size-wise, Alexander's got the goods. Because of their background and situation, it's natural to compare Colby Richardson and Zy Alexander. You're from an FCS program in the state, coming in to finish your career. That's a similar arc. But you could go out to practice and look at Colby Richardson and go, he's a little light. Like, that guy, can he hold up in the SEC? I don't know. When you go out to practice and look at Zy Alexander, you know he can fit in the SEC. He's tall, he's long, he's not rail skinny. He's thin, he's a corner, but he's not rail thin like I mentioned Rashard Robinson when he came in, or Thurald Simon when he came in. Like, he's an older player. He's filled out. So the size and the length, absolutely. I can't speak to his intelligence. Never talked to the guy, never seen him play in live action. But the size, for sure, with Alexander, absolutely will play in the SEC. On the other side, Deuce Chestnut's a guy that we assume is going to man that other battle station. What's he look like?
I think Deuce is a headsy player. What I have seen is he's got a unique skill set for baiting guys. That's the thing. You can tell Deuce has played football.
And that makes sense because he did have a lot of picks his first year at Stanford. And some guys just kind of have that knack for being able to sag off a little bit, bait you into throw, and break on the football. But as I mentioned in the last segment about Deuce Chestnut, when you go out there, he's not 6'1". He's sub 6 feet. And he's not like this super athlete. You wouldn't send him out there to run with Patrick Peterson or Morris Claiborne. Like, he's not going to be a kick returner on this team. But he's got the instincts, and he's played a lot of football. His numbers at Syracuse are impressive. And I know there are plenty of you out there that'll go, I don't care what you do in the ACC. This is the SEC. And I go, okay, but the ACC has real teams, real football players. There's not that much massive difference between Mississippi State or Arkansas and the upper tier ACC teams. Like, that's a pretty similar brand of football. And Deuce Chestnut fit right in the ACC doing that. So again, he doesn't have the physical traits in LSU secondary that Jamal Adams had. He's not Derek Stingley. Like, he doesn't have that kind of athleticism. But he's got ball skills, he's got some savvy, and that's what they're going to try to get by on. And I think that's interesting and should be interesting to watch. And the last piece is kind of the one proven commodity that LSU has back in the secondary, and that is Major Burns.
Major's improved, and he's a guy that his length and his speed give the options to do different things. And he's also a guy now where it's time to take his development to the next level, where it's beyond just what's my job, but it's seeing the bigger picture and understanding what offenses are trying to do, understanding how situational football plays a role, and then how you can take advantage of it.
Let me tell you this about Major Burns that I didn't know, and he's been here for over a year now, and I did not know this. He's a troublemaker out there. He is yapping. We're out there at practice, and you remember the fight from 2 weeks ago that made headline news. He started it. And then I was out there last Thursday in the morning, and he got under the skin of a walk-on who was probably 5'9", 5'10", linebacker. I never heard of him. But Major got in his kitchen, and the kid had his helmet off, wailing, swinging, throwing punches, like just absolutely furious. And then we're out there on Saturday, and they're in some 7-on-7, some 11-on-11, and Major never stops talking. And that's fine. I'm fine with it. But it is clear as day that he is out there to try to incite some people. And he's got a smile on his face, and he's laughing like he eats that stuff up. And I can't tell you whether or not that's great on the field or not. I'm just telling you what it is. He's out there, and he's yapping. And I thought it was hilarious. I think there are some guys that can take it a little more than others. Some other guys that get a little chippy. But you know that most secondaries need that guy. Most secondaries need a guy who's going to jaw, who's going to talk. I mean, Brandon Taylor was like that. My guy, BT, on the pre- and post-game show. He lets you know about it. And Major Burns is that guy. And he's certainly the leader of that secondary, being kind of the old guy at this point, because there's so many faces that overturn, it seems, annually over there in the secondary for the last 3 years. So that's kind of a look at what Matt House had to say about his secondary on Saturday morning when he met with the media. It's been an interesting couple days in recruiting. LSU gets a commitment, has an in-state player commit elsewhere. We'll talk about that at 1:45. Cat Terrell covering the Saints for ESPN at 2 o'clock. Still got Meet the Freshmen. Got the AP poll to talk about. Got preseason All-Americans from ESPN to talk about. But when we come back, we'll react to the Saints and the Chiefs from the Dome yesterday on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Baseball season is heading into the backstretch. Get into the action with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Just go to FanDuel.com/1045ESPN to join today. So don't miss your chance to get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/1045ESPN to sign up. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball trademarks used with permission. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. We front issues knowledgeable bonus bet. Expires in 7 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. If you're somebody who has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Officially, it's a fridge full of beer. Unofficially, it's free AC. Coors Light, the official beer of everything unofficial.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind. When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury.
Matt Moscona invited to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. Tigers back on the practice field. We'll have a practice report, and we'll recap Saints Chiefs. What did we learn? We'll talk about it Monday, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So the Saints and the Chiefs played yesterday in the Dome. Many of you may have attended. Many of you probably watched. Many of you probably don't care. But the Saints did play the Chiefs yesterday. And allow me briefly to just go on a 2-minute airing of grievances, if I could. I'm well aware that we've entered a smart TV cord-cutting era of television broadcasting. Like, I'm fully aware of it. We got a move that's coming up here in the short term, and we're going to figure all that out at a later date when we get to the new house. But currently, I have AT&T UVerse at home. I have cable. I rely on cable. I enjoy cable, whatever. It is what it is. But for over 2 years now, AT&T UVerse has not allowed me to watch NBC, which is a bit of a problem on Sunday nights for Sunday Night Football, bit of a problem for golf tournaments because I don't have NBC. And recently, a couple months ago, Fox was pulled from my cable package. So I can't watch Fox or NBC. Someone explain to me how that's legal. How I can pay for a cable subscription, and there are channels that, because the bureaucrats and people that are fighting between the cable company and the network can't agree to terms, I'm just SOL. Can we not get a third-party arbiter to come in and be like, hey, what do you think it's worth? What do you think it's worth? Here's what it's worth. Fix it now. Like, how does that not happen? I cannot be paying for cable and not have two networks. It's insane. I don't think I'm being unreasonable. You're the cable provider. Provide the cable. Okay, let's talk about the Saints and Chiefs now that we've got that in review here. I was able to watch the majority of what I needed to watch. We've got the YouTube situation, and we made it work. It's just not ideal. And football season's about to start, and it's not going to be ideal during that either. We'll fix it when we get to the new house. I'm not in the mood to root everything at the moment, so we're not going to do it. But let's talk about the Saints and the Chiefs. Look, it's a first preseason game. So what are you going to draw from it? Nothing massively important unless a star on your team goes down for the year. That's really the only massively impactful thing that can happen in a first preseason game. But that being said, if we're going to understand the emphasis that we're putting on this game, which is very little, I thought it went great. I thought it went great for New Orleans. I thought Derek Carr went out there, piloted an efficient drive. It wasn't like they hit one big play and that was a drive. It was a methodical 11-play drive that had some chunk plays, had some running plays, hit Michael Thomas, hit Kamara on a screen. Like, it all looked good on that first drive with David Carr, and it finished with a really nice throw for a touchdown to Kirkwood, which we'll talk about receivers in a second. But I thought that drive was excellent for New Orleans. The bad side of what goes on a little bit later in the game is that Kendre Miller has been diagnosed with a strain in his knee. And running back just went from a little thin to like a dire need now because Kamara's out and Miller's going to miss a week or two, and it's the same knee that was hurt at TCU, and that worries me. Really, it does. Benjamin's gone for the year with the Achilles. So right now you're kind of leaning on Williams, and then you've got Ellis Merriweather, who had the touchdown at the end, rookie out of UMass. Do you want to put a lot on his plate? Probably not. So they're going to bring in Darrell Williams, former Tiger, former Arrett standout, to take a look. I would like that signing as well. I'm still on board if they want to bring Kareem Hunt back. But they got to do something because they don't have – you can't put Kirk Merritt out there, even though he's hurt right now too. That's not the answer. So they got serious issues at running back. Now, the good news is that running back is the most fixable problem out there. There are probably more running backs than any position you can find out there. There's a lot of receivers, a lot of DBs, because there just, quite frankly, are a lot of 6'1", 200-pound guys that can run fast. That's a pretty accessible commodity. So they got to find something at running back. Merriweather had 9 carries for 24 yards, also had the catch for the touchdown. We know they got to do something there at running back. That's important. From what I saw, which is not the entire game, I thought Trevor Penning looked okay. I didn't notice Trevor Penning. I don't know that he was playing at a Pro Bowl level. I know that he wasn't a turnstile. That was a big thing going into the game. What are you going to get from your left tackle who's kind of entering a second rookie year? I thought he was fine. And that's a good thing. I don't think the expectation is for Trevor Penning to make the Pro Bowl this year. I don't think the expectation is for him to be the first team All-Pro left tackle. The expectation, if you're being real, is that Trevor Penning is a league average left tackle that has massive upside and grows into a great player. To expect him to be that in week 1, at least that's not where I am. But I thought he was fine on Saturday. Speaking of high-round draft picks, you're kind of waiting on. Zach Bond kind of showed up a little bit. I mean, the sack's going to be the most important thing, rushing the passer, but you did notice him on defense, where he's been mainly a special teams guy for a couple years. I liked what I saw from Zach Bond, a little athleticism, little speed, little fire, and then making the big play to get to the passer. We know how big a deal running back is, and they've tried to address a little bit of that with Jalen Smith bringing him in, and you know what DeMario is. Didn't play on Saturday. I liked what I saw from Zach Bond. I thought that was very good. And then Kamara and Michael Thomas looked like Kamara and Michael Thomas. Thomas makes the catch over the middle. Nice catch from Carr. Kamara looked exceptional on the screenplay. Still had the burst. Still has the patience. Got the whole package. Now he's going to have to sit for 3 games, but I thought that looked very good. And then you want to toss Jimmy Graham in there. You can. Makes a catch on the right side of the football field. Again, I don't know that I expect some sort of big year from Jimmy Graham, and I think it's odd that the Saints are going to carry 4 tight ends if that, in fact, becomes the case. But he's out there. He's happy to be here. And he made a catch. So the last point I want to make is that they got so many dudes at wide receiver. So many dudes. That they all can't make the roster. Olave, Thomas, and Shaheed are in. We think Traquan Smith's going to make the roster. Kirkwood's been kind of a valuable piece to have around, whether he bounced on the practice squad or active. A.T. Perry makes a touchdown catch. He's got a lot of skill. James Washington. They've added John Trey Kirkland. This is just a crowded room. And if you're going to carry 4 tight ends, you got to cut somewhere. And it just feels like wide receiver is going to be that spot where I think, Olave, Thomas, Shaheed, Traquan, and A.T. Perry maybe, which would leave Keith Kirkwood on the outside looking in, would leave John Trey Kirkland on the outside looking in, would leave maybe James Washington on the outside looking in. It's a great problem to have. I love the problem. I think you've got the high-end guys. I think Olave is prime for a star season. Thomas looks healthy. Perry's got ridiculous upside. Like, maybe you do tell Traquan that it's been fun. I know a guy that has a show for 3 hours after me that would probably say that. But when you've got Juwan Johnson out there making plays and catching passes, and you feel like Jimmy Graham is a pass-catching option that's going to line up off the line of scrimmage a lot when he's in the game. There's only so many pass catchers you can have. And so when they go down the field in the first drive, and I'm thinking I've got the starters out there, and Keith Kirkwood makes the first touchdown catch, I'm going, wait a second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, there are too many. Good play by Kirkwood. Good job by the Saints evaluating talent and bringing it in. But it just feels a little bit bloated out there when we're talking about getting it down to 53. You know, they got time. We got another game to play this weekend, another game to play the following weekend. We got time. And it's, again, a great problem to have, but you've got not enough running backs and too many wide receivers. But again, I thought the Saints looked great for the first 20-plus minutes of playing time. Jump out to that 17-0. Defense playing good. Offense looks crisp. Got a little sloppy late. Hayner was okay through the pick, and you got beat a little bit late, but come up with a huge interception, and rookie comes in and knocks a field goal through. Saints win, and the Saints cover. So if you're a degenerate who had money on the Saints in a preseason game, 1.5 is what you were laying. You got a 2-point win, you cashed. But again, you can go through each individual thing. Big picture, I thought Sunday was a really nice win for the Saints. No thanks to AT&T Uverse and to Fox for that. All right, when we come back, a lot of recruiting news. LSU gets a huge commitment, and then there was a player that is not coming to LSU that I'm looking around going, I don't like the looks of that at all. We'll talk about all that next.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
We all know that cancer sucks, but it affects everyone. But we've got good news for you. Ochsner Health and MD Anderson Cancer Center have partnered to create Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center in southeastern Louisiana. Ochsner is the first and only provider in Louisiana with a fully integrated cancer program that's based on MD Anderson's practice standards and treatment plans. That means that the physicians at Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center have direct access to MD Anderson's specialists and researchers. And the awesome news is that they're going to be offering access to select clinical trials that are available to eligible patients in our state. That expert cancer care is going to be in 7 locations across New Orleans, St. Tammany Parish, and right here in Baton Rouge. Baton Rouge is going to have the Ochsner Cancer Center. Over in Kenner, they've got the Ochsner Medical Center. Ochsner Baptist, a campus of Ochsner Medical Center, will be there as well. Got Ochsner Medical Complex at the Grove. And the great news about this is that Ochsner and MD Anderson are going to work together to certify additional sites moving forward in the future, which is just such great news for the people in our state. If you'd like to learn more about Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center, welcome you to go to ochsner.org. That is ochsner.org.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Make this summer your backyard party year with Chris's Specialty Foods. Wings, burgers, brisket, steak, and boudin, plus great Cajun side dishes. We do all the prep, and you enjoy laughing with friends and family. Chris's Specialty Foods, Millerville, New Orleans, Prairieville, and Frisco.
Everybody loves Chris's authentic Cajun meat.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Bayou Ford has $8,000 off MSRP, plus 1.9% financing on new 23 Ford F-150 XLT trucks, along with Bayou Ford's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com.
Moscona invited to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. Tigers back on the practice field. We'll have a practice report, and we'll recap Saints Chiefs. What did we learn? We'll talk about it Monday, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So if you follow recruiting, you know that last week LSU was very much paying attention to a couple of announcements out of Duncanville, just south of Dallas. You're looking at Colin Simmons, 5-star edge, top 10 player in the country, ends up committing to Texas. You were also paying attention to Caden Durham, the 4-star running back, who committed to LSU. Both of those players are entering their senior year. And will be part of the class of 2024. And that was a good get for LSU to get Caden Durham out of Duncanville. But the Duncanville pursuit did not stop. This is one of the top programs in all of Texas. And DeCorian Moore is entering his junior year at Duncanville and is a 5-star wide receiver by 24/7 and ESPN. This weekend, he committed to LSU. Moore is 5'11", 175 pounds, extremely explosive, just gifted with the ball in his hands. And LSU goes to Duncanville and gets another. I think there was people overreact to recruiting. It's just the nature of it. Every 5-star is going to be the program savior. Every 3-star is completely overrated. Every player that doesn't come to your school got paid by the other school. Every time your school gets one, it's a great job by the staff. If a player leaves the state, then he's a traitor. If a player comes into the state, that's a great move for them. That's just the way recruiting works. And I'm tongue in cheek about it, and I'm about to be in about 3 minutes. But there was a little bit of a narrative. Well, they can't close. They can't close. This Kelly staff, they're not closing. They couldn't close on Colin Simmons. Well, wait a second. They closed on Deshaun Womack. They closed on Harold Perkins. They closed on Caden Durham. They're closing here on DeCorian Moore. And I know they haven't signed on the dotted line, and anything can happen before then. And this is a guy who's about to be a junior in high school. But they are recruiting pretty well. And this is a really good get for LSU as far as wide receivers go. So that's on the positive end of this thing from a recruiting effort. DeCorian Moore, 5-star wide receiver from Duncanville. Now on the negative today, Wardell Mack committed to Florida. Wardell Mack is a 4-star cornerback from the state of Louisiana down in New Orleans. And he was one of the 2 guys in the top 10 uncommitted. Matt goes to John Ehret. He's 6 feet, 170, and he's a defensive back. He committed to Florida. Now, this is a little new, and this was the concern when Billy Napier got the Florida job and he hired Jabbar Jalouk and he hired Corey Raymond. That's a lot of time in the state of Louisiana. Napier was at ULL for almost a decade. Corey Raymond is from here, was at LSU for a long time. Jabbar Jalouk has been in the high school ranks in New Orleans for decades. He made stops at Texas Tech and Louisiana Tech and whatever, but now he's at Florida. That's a lot of Louisiana ties. And you knew when that staff was assembled, they were going to spend time recruiting Louisiana. I don't know how much Dan Mullen recruited Louisiana. I don't know how much Urban Meyer recruited Louisiana. Muschamp, McElwain. Like, Florida's got a lot of players in driving distance from Gainesville. They don't have to spend a lot of time in the river parishes or down in Acadiana. But when you assemble that staff, they're going to. And the question, again, was not whether or not they were coming. The question is whether or not that was going to yield any results. And through a year and change, it had not. They had not done any damage in the state of Louisiana. But a couple weeks ago, we know that LSU had their Bayou Splash, big end-of-summer recruiting weekend, and a lot of guys were there. Colin Simmons was there. Caden Durham was there. A lot of your in-state players were there. And Wardell Mack went to Gainesville. That's telling. And 2 weeks later, he decides to commit to Florida. Now, as I've always maintained, you've got a guy like Caden Durham. You've got a guy like Jacoby Stevens or Kevin Tolliver. You've got a guy like Spencer Ware. Some of these guys that come from out of state into Louisiana, I support that coming to. I think that's a great plan for them. Spread your wings, come to a place that's steeped in tradition, that's a great culture, and can win a lot of games. Now, if you're a Louisiana player like Wardell Mack, and you decide to go somewhere out of state when LSU's knocking on your door and you decide to go to Florida, that's just a horrible decision, right? It's terrible. Terrible decision. Florida stinks. I'm tongue-in-cheek with that. But I mean, makes me very sad when the Louisiana kids want to go somewhere else. Why would you want to do that? But hey, if you're from Ohio and you're really good and you want to come to LSU, I'm all for it. But Wardell Mack, we thought at a certain point during this summer that LSU could potentially land the top 10 players in the state of Louisiana. They got commit from Michael Turner from Curtis, Joel Rogers, West Feliciana, Kylan Billiot from Homa down Terrebonne, Juwan Johnson from Lafayette Christian, Kalaj Cobbins, Tylen Singleton, Deshaun McBride, Tradez Green. That's 10 through 3. And that leaves Wardell Mack and Dominic McKinley. McKinley's going to announce in 2 weeks. He's looking hard at Texas, potentially could be LSU as well. And Wardell Mack just never seemed as interested in LSU. He has not been to campus in Baton Rouge from New Orleans since April. The staff just couldn't find that secret sauce to get him to campus. So for the first time, Corey Raymond, Billy Napier, and Jabbar Jalouk come into Louisiana and take a top-end talent. And that's a gut punch, but still, LSU's done a good job in the state of Louisiana. If they can find a way to lasso in Dominic McKinley, the 5-star edge, that would kind of offset the hurt from not getting Colin Simmons, as well as continue to maintain that quote-unquote fence around the state of Louisiana. You hope that the staff can make that happen, but we won't find out until September the 1st. That's it for the first hour here on a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. I heard from Matt House a little bit earlier with his sound from the weekend. I gave my practice thoughts from being out on the Ponderosa on Saturday. We talked some Saints Chiefs as well as they played in the Dome on Sunday. If you missed any of that, you can always catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, or, of course, on YouTube. If you're looking for your football content, it's obviously that time of year. All of our football content funneled to 2 YouTube channels, Hunt on LSU and Hunt on Saints. Subscribe to those 2 channels. You'll get segment by segment, 10-minute snippets sent right to your YouTube homepage. Make it very, very easily digestible. We appreciate it if you go ahead and subscribe to those channels. Got a lot to get to in hour number 2 as well. We're going to meet the freshmen in about 20 minutes. Got Shelton Sampson and Javian Toviano today, who we've gotten a chance to see a good bit of in practice. The AP poll out is for the preseason. as well as some ESPN college football preseason All-Americans. When we come back, I'm going to try to chat with Cat Terrell from ESPN. She covers the New Orleans Saints. She may have had a call to get on. We're going to check with her in the break. But our hope is to come back with you after Sports Center and talk a little bit of Saints.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks, all with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big V and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. Rays shortstop Wander Franco is put on the restricted list today while MLB investigates social media posts regarding his relationship with a woman in the Dominican Republic. Franco is in the first year of an 11-year, $182 million contract extension. James Harden of the 76ers agreed to pick up his option for this season, believing the team would try to trade him. Those trade talks are now over. Harden says team president Daryl Morey is a liar and that he'll never play for a team that Morey is a part of. ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski.
We have seen what James Harden looks like when he's in a situation where he doesn't want to be there. How he left Houston, how he got out of Brooklyn, but also this is a player about to turn 34 years old whose future, especially financially, is very unclear.
Adrian Wojnarowski. The Ravens activate running back J.K. Dobbins off the PUP list today. He missed the first 14 training camp practices with an undisclosed injury.
Do you own or rent your home? Sure you do. Fortunately, Geico makes it easy to bundle your home and car insurance. It's a good thing, too, because having a home is hard work. Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. Geico.com. Easy.
Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2 on this Monday, Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Hope your work week is off to a good start. Loaded first hour, talking a lot of football. I gave you my thoughts on the Saints and Chiefs back at 1:30, but why don't we get the thoughts of someone who actually covers the team day to day and was in the Dome on Sunday. We'll do that now as we head out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline and chat with Cat Terrell, who covers the Saints for ESPN. Cat, thanks for your time. How are you?
I'm good. I actually was not in the Dome on Sunday. I was sick all weekend, so I had to watch it on TV like everyone else.
You didn't have to out. You didn't have to out yourself there. You could have just kept it rolling. But
I already outed myself on Twitter. It's okay. I like to be honest. You know,
I understand.
Everyone knows
Well,
what
I
they're
was
getting from me.
There you go. Well, I was gonna ask you about the new renovations to the Superdome, but did you go to the one they let the media in the other day?
No, I've been sick since like Thursday, but I'm good now.
Okay,
so,
well, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, you know, I was feeling a little better, but I figured sitting in the Arctic tundra of the Dome was not going to help me get unsick.
No,
so.
I don't think that would help you at all. We talked with Luke on Thursday, and I was like, so the high is 101 on Sunday. Are you bringing a jacket to the game? And he was like, I mean, absolutely, I have to bring a jacket to the game. So that's just part of it. But y'all know, y'all understand. Y'all been there a time or two. So what was your biggest takeaway from the couch as you watched the Saints play the Chiefs on Sunday?
You know, I thought Derek Carr looked great, and I thought the first team offense looked really good. You know, I don't know if they would have kept him in another series if they didn't look good, but I'd seen enough from them, and that's really what you want to see. You want to see them looking cohesive, looking together. I thought they looked good. I thought Jake Hayner had a rough day, but, you know, he's a rookie. That's going to happen. A.T. Perry looked good. That's a rookie wide receiver for those not familiar. Pass rush was a little suspect, so that's something they're going to need to work on. But, you know, overall, the first two series, offensively and defensively, is exactly what they probably wanted to see.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought it went great for the majority of the stuff that really, really matters. Let's stick with the offense first. They've got some significant depth issues now at running back with a little minor injury there to Kendre Moore. I mean, what is your impression of them moving forward at the running back position? Do they need to add a veteran?
Yeah, you know, I actually talked to a source today, and they said the outlook on Miller is positive. Dennis Allen said it was a knee sprain. Doesn't seem like it's going to keep him out long term, which is great because they're going to be shorthanded otherwise once they start the season. Obviously, it's Kamara being suspended. I don't know. Things can change. I think the optimism is there for Miller to be there at the beginning of the season. We'll see if that happens. But, you know, as you brought up, either way, they're going to need to bring a running back in for a few weeks. Kind of seems like the Kareem Hunt ship sailed. So I assume they're just going to be looking for depth at that point and just trying to get out of training camp without injuries. And they still got a long way to go with 2 sessions of joint practices and 2 more games coming up.
On the flip side of that, it seems like they've got too many wide receivers. We know that Olave and Thomas and those guys at the top are going to be your starters. But when you get towards the back end of the active roster, Who do you expect to be in, and who do you expect to be maybe on the outside looking in?
So obviously your big three are Thomas, Shaheed, and Olave, with Shaheed being hurt at the moment. Then, number 4, as much as fans are up and down about him, it's probably Traquan Smith because he has a specific role as a blocking wide receiver. Then it kind of comes down to if they're going to keep 5 or 6. They don't really need 6 because they have so many other pass catchers.
Mm-hmm.
But I do feel like Perry has been trending positive, trending upward. They probably would want to keep him as a draft pick. Guy's got a lot of potential, even if he isn't active on game days. The rest of them, no one has really stood out to me enough to earn a spot. So right now I would go with 5 stay on the roster, and then they end up with an additional tight end if they keep Jimmy Graham. So that's kind of the trade-off there.
Did you notice Trevor Penning on Sunday?
I haven't gone back and rewatched the game yet. I didn't notice anything bad. So
Right.
that's the key. If you are noticing him a lot, if you're not specifically looking out for him, that's not a good thing. But I do think that offensive line is concern's the wrong word. I think that it's a bigger unit that needs to be watched for than people might have thought since they were so strong in the past. I just think the whole left side right now is a question. Hurst has played guard before, but now you're asking him to move from tackle to guard full time. Don't know what's happening with Pete. Penning needs to basically have what is essentially a great rookie season after he had those 2 major injuries last year. So a lot of questions, but hopefully Penning can take a step forward.
How's Zach Bond looked in practices? We know he had the sack on Sunday and that kind of flashes, but is there a chance that he might take a step up? They need depth at linebacker, obviously.
Up and down. I
Yeah.
think I noticed one play in the game where he was in coverage and it was not a good play. But then on the other hand, I noticed a play where they allowed him to rush, which is what he did in college, and it ended up, like you said, with a sack. And yeah, they're not going to want him to do that full time, but I feel like they should probably let him do that more, let him do what he's good at. Depth is going to be an issue at linebacker. They had a lot of injuries pretty quickly. Obviously, Davis is out for a bit. I would hope that he'd be back for the regular season. But yeah, I don't know. I think that Bond is going to have his role, but he's also not someone that I could say positively if he had to come in and start full time that I would be okay with that. But I think that that's probably the case for a lot of teams once you get past linebacker 2 or 3 or 4.
You mentioned the pass rush may be a little suspect. If that's going to improve, who are the faces that it's going to come from?
Well, I think it's got to start with Peyton Turner. He's a first-round draft pick. It's a really big year for him. They're saying all the right things. He got a whole off season. He's healthy. All right, well, now he's got to prove it. I think that he's had a decent camp, but, I have seen that before. I think as a rookie, when he was healthy, he had a good training camp. I think he made a lot of noise as a rookie early on. So, hopefully this is the year it all clicks for him. I think that he's very talented. He just hasn't been able to stay healthy. But, it's kind of like Dennis Allen said, they're looking for that guy that can play next to Cam. And, no one's really taken that role yet. I think Foskey's someone that needs a lot of reps and work. And so really you're looking at Turner. Granderson has had his moments over the years, and I think he's going to have his place as a rotational player. But I think that what they really want to see is their first-round pick kind of take hold of that position and stay there.
Chatting with Catherine Terrell, covers the Saints for ESPN. A couple more minutes, Kat. Michael Thomas has a catch in the first drive. That's what it is. But, you've seen him now for 3 weeks in practice. Does he appear to be a ready-to-roll number 2 NFL wide receiver right now?
I think they want him to be. One thing that we've noticed pretty consistently is they always kind of seem to try to start off 11-on-11 drills by throwing to Michael Thomas. Like they want to get him involved quickly. So I think they're certainly going to be trying to do that. On the other hand, they have said this is going to be an offense where we spread the ball around, and if someone gets 12 catches one day, they're just going to have to, or the other people are just going to have to deal with the fact that maybe they only got 2, and maybe they'll get 12 catches in a few weeks. So I say that to say I think that their idea is Thomas doesn't have to be the guy anymore who puts the team on his shoulders. And I know it's been a long time since he did that. But, if you have enough pass catchers, and it kind of feels like they do, I think that Thomas and Olave and Shaheed can be a really great trio. Is he ready? I think he's still getting there. Sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't with him. But it's really not, you're not really going to be able to tell until you see him in an extended game situation. So I think everyone's kind of got their fingers crossed that he stays healthy until that point.
Saints at the Chargers Sunday night on NFL Network. They'll do some joint practices. Do you know what the Saints' schedule is for this week? I know those joint practices they find really valuable.
They're going to fly out to California Wednesday, I believe, and then practice with the Chargers Thursday and Friday. And then the big question is, since a lot of these teams kind of see joint practices as a trade-off, I guess, for playing their starters in preseason games. Do they play Derek Carr at all on Sunday? Do they play the starters? I'm not really sure, but I think it will be really interesting to see them get extended reps against another team after we only saw the first team for about 5 minutes the other day. And I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be fun, and I think the Texas joint practices will be fun next week.
Absolutely. We appreciate the time. Glad you're feeling better. We'll talk again soon.
Yep. Thanks for having me on.
That's Cat Terrell, covers the Saints for ESPN. Be headed out to L.A. to see Saints and Chargers again. That's a 6:05 Central kickoff on NFL Network, which I do get, by the way, that we'll see on Sunday between the Saints and the Chargers. When we come back, we'll meet the freshmen. It's on Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com is that website. 10% off is good. So is free. Free consultation with One Bath and Closets. David Duvall and his team have been doing this for 30 years. If you want them to come and look at your situation, they can do that for free. If you decide to do a bathroom redesign or remodel and a closet redesign and remodel, and you combo those two, 10% off for Hunt Palmer Show listeners. 10% off. Maybe it's a full-scale renovation. They can do it. They can handle all of it, soup to nuts, as David says. And that just means you make one phone call. You don't have to call 4 different contractors to get it done. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's just a tub-to-shower conversion. They pull out that old bathtub, put in a gorgeous glass walk-in shower, changes the aesthetic and the functionality of your bathroom. On the closet side, what would a customized closet mean for you? More space, more easily accessible, less clutter. Let David Duvall and his team come out and help you. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. OneBathAndClosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the JimsFirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the JimsFirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. Tigers back on the practice field. We'll have a practice report, and we'll recap Saints Chiefs. What did we learn? We'll talk about it Monday, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So there is some significant drama going on in the Ole Miss Memphis world. Michael Orr, Tui family. Get to that in a second, because it's funny. Well, it's not funny, but it's a little jarring when you realize that the guy's life story was made into a movie, and now he's not real happy about it. That's next, but right now let's meet the freshmen.
Meet the freshmen. Freshmen, meet the freshmen. They're the newest Tigers on the team.
4 more to go. We've been doing this for the better part of 3 weeks. We'll finish it up tomorrow, but today we start with Shelton Sampson, 6'4", 190-pound wide receiver out of Catholic High right here in Baton Rouge. As a senior last year, had 79 catches for 1,152 yards and 18 touchdowns for the Bears. Every service had him tabbed as a 4-star. When the dust finally settled, he was a top 5 player in Louisiana across the board. Alabama was in the mix. Florida State was in the mix. But he chose the home team here in Baton Rouge along with his teammate, Emory Jones, who was a year ahead of Shelton and played last year for LSU. But this is a guy who we've seen a little bit out at practice, and he does. I mean, the comparisons to Terrace Marshall are very fair. They're both long and rangy and smooth and good athletes. It's a pretty apt comparison, I think. We know that Terrace had a phenomenal career at LSU. He was leading the country in touchdowns in 2019 before he got hurt, and then came back and had, of course, a big touchdown in the national championship game. He was really off to a great start in the COVID year as well, and then shut that down. But he was a really, really talented receiver, and Shelton Sampson is certainly that. He profiles as that big body, rangy, long catch radius wide receiver. It's very different than some of the guys in his class. Kyle Parker and Jaylen Brown are smaller than him. Parker's a technician and a great route runner. Jaylen Brown has ridiculous speed. Sampson's the rangy target, and I think there's plenty of room for that in an LSU offense, but I think it's going to have to wait a year. I think you're looking at this wide receiver room, and you look at the top of the food chain with Malik Neighbors, and then you look right there next to him at Brian Thomas, and you see Kyron Lacey's having a great camp, and Aaron Anderson is really emerging, and you've got a bunch of guys behind that, but I don't think they're just going to see a ton of playing time because the top of LSU's wide receiving depth chart is just that good. So this is going to be, I think, a seasoning year for Shelton Sampson, maybe put on some weight, and all of a sudden this time next year, if you turn around and you've lost Malik Neighbors and you've lost Brian Thomas and you have lost Kyron Lacey and you're looking at a wide receiver core that has Aaron Anderson ready to roll but is offering some playing time elsewhere, Sampson at 6'4" and now 205 pounds, if he puts on 15 pounds in a year, that's a real game changer, I think. So I think that this is a real talent that you're maybe going to have to wait a year to see, but it's an exciting young player from here in the state of Louisiana. And then Javian Toviano is our second freshman today. 6'1", 201-pound cornerback out of Arlington, Texas. Consensus 4-star by every site. Consensus top 10 player in Texas by every service. Toviano is interesting. As I mentioned, 6'1", over 200 pounds. A lot of the defensive backs that LSU brings in are just ridiculous athletes, like the spark scores and all that kind of stuff. Like, they're just off the charts. And Toviano's not necessarily that. Do I think he's going to run a 4.3 40? I don't. Do I think his vertical is going to be 42 inches? I don't. But he's a really good football player, and everyone who evaluates him feels the exact same way. He makes a ton of tackles. He's in the right spot. He's physical. He breaks up passes. And so I think there's going to be a discussion to be made. Is he a nickel? Is he a safety? Is he a boundary corner? I don't pretend to know that right now. I think they're trying him everywhere. We played a Matt House clip like literally right at an hour ago talking about moving all these guys around. Moving Sage Ryan and Greg Brooks around, moving Javian Toviano around, and kind of seeing where guys fit in and where they can best use their skill sets. I think Toviano is going to play this year. I don't feel that way about Sampson because I think it's crowded there. Toviano may emerge as a real playmaker on this team. We saw that, and I don't want to put expectations. I'm just citing an example of young player. I mean, we saw in 2010 the emergence late in the season of Thorold Simon and Eric Reed as freshman DBs who were ready to play. Tyron was out there against North Carolina in the first game, but it took some of those freshmen a minute to get out there. Same thing was basically true of Tre'Davious White, where he wasn't starting right out of the chute, but eventually found his way into the starting lineup midway through the season. I think you may see that with Javian Toviano. He's just a savvy, smart, technically sound football player, and I think he's at a position group that's not nearly as settled as what wide receiver is. So I think that's a guy that I think you'll see this year. If it may start on special teams, but I think it bleeds into defense at some point. So Shelton Sampson and Javian Toviano are your freshmen of the day today. All right, I just teased this, and this is kind of breaking all over the internet. If you haven't been on the internet today, this will be kind of news to you. If you have been, this broke like 4 hours ago. But Michael Orr, former Ole Miss Rebel, first-round pick of the Baltimore Ravens, NFL veteran who retired in 2017, and, of course, was kind of biographied in The Blind Side, is suing the Tuohy family, Sean Tuohy, Leanne Tuohy, for some things that went on when he was not an adult. And what Michael Orr allegedly was brought to believe was that he was adopted by the Tuohys. That would make him part of the Tuohy family. Instead, he was not. Instead, he signed a conservatorship document, which essentially meant that Sean and Leanne Tuohy had not adopted him into their family. They had instead gained the authority to use his name, image, and likeness in business transactions. And of course, we know signing on with Disney is a pretty sizable transaction. So when that happened and The Blind Side was born, the Tuohy family got paid. Both Tuohys and their kids, Collins and SJ, were paid $225,000 each and 2.5% of the film's defined net proceeds. Well, the film grossed over $300 million. So you're talking about seven-figure sums of money headed to all the Tuohys that did not go to Michael Orr. And as it says in this ESPN story, Orr didn't really care that much because he had just been a first-round pick. He knew that the kids were getting checks, royalty checks from the blind side. He knew that Sean and Leanne were getting checks from the blind side as well, but he didn't really care because he was making a bunch of money with the Ravens. Well, now he looks back in the rearview mirror and he says, oh, wait a second. I'm now in my upper 30s, and this family has screwed me over. They told me I was adopted. They said conservatorship was the same thing as adoption, and I've been screwed out of a bunch of money, and I hate these people. Like, that's where we are with the blindside families. So this has been filed in the state of Tennessee. We know that the Tuohys live in Memphis. And this, to me, seems like it's going to end in Sean Tuohy cutting a pretty sizable check. Now, he's got a bunch of restaurant franchises, and he's obviously made a bunch of money off the blind side, and money hasn't been a huge problem for the Tuohy families. It's about to be one between he and Michael Orr, because I wasn't there when the conservatorship was signed, but everything you've heard and read was that, like, the Tuohys adopted Michael Orr, and it sounds like this may not have been the case. And I do have, my two college roommates are from Memphis. So I wouldn't pretend to have like inside sources in Memphis or be like a part of the scuttlebutt in the community. But if you read the internet and you look and you hear people from Memphis, like, there have been whispers about this for a decade. Like, this whole thing wasn't quite as rosy as it's painted by this movie. And Orr hated the movie when it came out because it painted him as dumb, and it made it look like he had never played football before. He was a team, and he was a really good football player. And he was a really good football player before he ever slept on the Tuohy's couch. He was kind of sleeping with different families night to night. And the Tuohy's kind of maybe saw this potential and then said, well, why don't you sleep on our couch like all the nights? It wasn't like they were like, hey, you ever think of, here's a bed and you can stay here and we'll take you shopping. Like, oh, maybe next fall you can go to football practice. Like, he played football. So he didn't like that aspect of it, but apparently he kind of grew to be okay with it because he thought it was a good story for young people down on their luck that may have a chance to make a break and do something great with their lives. So he went along with it. Well, now that the money's is what it is, that doesn't fly anymore. So Michael Orr is suing the Tuohy family for mucho dinero based on the fact that they kind of tricked him out of millions of dollars. Generally doesn't end well. Doesn't appear that this one's going to end too rosy either. All right, when we come back, we got some more to talk about here on the football side of things. Want to do the Associated Press came out with its preseason poll. Where's LSU? Where's Florida State? And then ESPN came out with its preseason All-American team. LSU represented on that. We'll see. That's next.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime. Come home, in Baton Rouge. I'm ready, what you put me on through. Gotta send my love down to
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before in a 2023 Infiniti QX50 at your local Infiniti retailer.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Matt Moscona invited to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. Tigers back on the practice field. We'll have a practice report, and we'll recap Saints Chiefs. What did we learn? We'll talk about it Monday, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The preseason AP poll is out. Get excited or ready to overreact or get really mad. I don't know what you want to do. I don't know what emotion that elicits from you. For me, it elicits none. It's totally worthless. But we'll discuss it because this illustrates one point that I've kind of been hinting at for 6 months now. Number one in the AP preseason poll is the Georgia Bulldogs. Of course, they were the back-to-back defending national champs, and essentially we just need to determine whether or not they've got a quarterback who can function. If they do, it's going to be another pretty quick trip into the SEC championship game for the Georgia Bulldogs, whether that's Carson Beck or Brock Vandegrift. But the Dogs should be pretty salty on both sides of the ball. Michigan, as they were in the preseason coaches poll, is number 2 in this poll, coming off a 13-1 season. Bringing back your quarterback, I think that there's reason to believe that Michigan's going to be very good. They've recruited very well. I think Harbaugh's done a great job coaching. They choked last year against TCU. I don't really have another way to put it, but they've got a good program up there, and I think there's reason to put them at number 2. Ohio State is number 3. Of course, they're in the post-C.J. Stroud era, so we'll see what that brings. Kyle McCord is probably going to be the starter there. Maybe it's Devin Brown, but they're going to have a loaded roster, and they've got the best wide receiving core in college football at this point, led by Marvin Harrison Jr. Alabama comes in at number 4, if you can believe that. I just don't think anybody's buying this Alabama quarterback room. Jalen Milroe, Ty Simpson, Tyler I don't think anybody's buying it. I'm not. I think their team's going to be really good. I just don't know that what they've got at quarterback is even close to what they've had the last few years. You go back to Bryce Young and Mac Jones and Tua and Hurts. Like, this looks like Jake Coker to me. And Jake Coker won a national championship. So, is what it is. But that's what this kind of feels like. And I think if that's the case, you might be giving a nod to the teams that they have in front of them. But LSU's at number 5. Fighting Tigers are at number 5. The blurb kind of starts with, if the Tigers deserve all the love they've received during the offseason, it won't take long to figure out whether or not the big expectations were warranted for a program that made it to the SEC championship game in year 1 under Brian Kelly. They talk about the schedule, and they say the Tigers are stacked with young talent. Will Campbell, Emory Jones, Harold Perkins, all former freshmen who are looking to take the next step as sophomores. Front 7 on defense is going to be worth watching too, especially if sophomore tackle Mason Smith is healthy after injuring his knee last year. So nothing that you don't already know there, but LSU, like they were in the coaches poll, coming in at number 5 in the preseason AP poll. USC is number 6, Penn State is number 7, and at number 8 you find the Florida State Seminoles. So a top 8 AP preseason matchup in Orlando for LSU and Florida State. And that adds validity to my claim that I made back in February that this is going to be the biggest season opener LSU has played since the Oregon game in 2011. Yeah, Wisconsin and Lambeau was really cool, and whatever that was in Houston's fine, and going to the Rose Bowl is awesome. That's super cool. And last year it was LSU and Florida State as well in the Superdome. But both programs at that point were trying to get their feet on the ground. Norvell inherited a mess. It wasn't great the year prior, and he kind of maybe was a little more on the hot seat than thinking he had turned a corner. And they get that win, and they played pretty well all year, and they finished 10-3. And LSU wins the West, and they win 10 games if you include the bowl game. And now both programs aren't trying to get their footing. They're trying to ascend to the next level. LSU's trying to get back to the SEC championship game and get in the playoff. Florida State's trying to win the ACC, knock off Clemson. This is the next step, and whoever loses that game in Orlando gets hit a little bit. It's not a conference loss, and you can still handle your business in league play, so nobody's eliminated by a loss, but it certainly puts a wrench in things. If you're like LSU last year and you had lost a conference game, all of a sudden those 2 losses don't make you as attractive to that committee. Now, A&M took care of that in a big way, but this is a huge game, not a crippling game, but it's a top 8 game in the preseason. That's the biggest game that LSU has played to open the season since 2011. That would have been 12 years ago. ESPN came out with a preseason All-American team. No surprise, Caleb Williams is your quarterback. Blake Corum and Ole Miss's Quinshon Judkins are the running backs. Marvin Harrison Jr. is one of the wide receivers. Brock Bauer at tight end. Alabama with Tyler Booker on the as offensive guard on the first team. Cedric Van Pran, New Orleans native, is the center on the All-American team. And then you go to defense. Jared Verse, guy we're going to talk a lot about over the next 3 weeks. He was a terror against LSU in New Orleans last year. He could have been a top 15 pick in the NFL draft, but he decided to come back and try to be a top 5 pick in next year's draft. He's 6'4", 260. Last year he had 16.5 tackles for loss, 9 sacks. He's a problem. LSU's going to have to deal with him. Dallas Turner is on the team at the linebacker edge spot. Harold Perkins gets a linebacker spot. Blurb on Perkins says, take your pick with Perkins. He can play linebacker or edge rusher, and wherever he lines up, he is an impact defender. He was still learning to play the game last year as a true freshman and relied mostly on sheer athleticism to lead the team in tackles for loss with 13, sacks with 7.5, quarterback hurries with 14, and forced fumbles with 4. Look for Perkins to be more seasoned, more consistent, even more disruptive this season, which is bad news for opposing offenses. If he's more disruptive this year than he was last year at the end of the year, that'll really be something. Because that was 4 forced fumbles, and he didn't even play the first half of the year. I mean, you remember LSU played Tennessee in Tiger Stadium last year. Harold Perkins didn't play. And Brian Kelly said after the fact, like, yeah, not a great matchup for him, whatever, formationally, tempo, whatever the case may be, they didn't like the matchup. I like any matchup for Harold Perkins. And now we won't have to worry about that being the case. He'll be out there all the time. Kool-Aid McKistry, of course, a preseason All-American out at cornerback. Georgia leads the way with 5 members of the All-American team. Alabama has 3 on the All-American team, and LSU just the 1 with Harold Perkins. No Mason Smith, no Jaden Daniels, obviously, no Malik Neighbors. Some guys that are really, really high-end players that could be All-Americans once the postseason dust settles. But in the preseason, just Harold Perkins on that list. So that's kind of your look at the preseason lists for the day here on the Hunt Palmer Show. We've got just one more segment to go here. We're going to play some Take It or Leave It and then get on the road. I hope your work week's off to a great start here on this Monday. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. Corey Barr is a champion of Louisiana. Corey, born and raised in Monroe, Louisiana, became a chef and was good at it and got recognized nationally. Food Network star, beat Bobby Flay. And even though he gained that national acclaim, he didn't run off to San Francisco or Los Angeles, even run off to Chicago or New York. He comes right back to Monroe, opens his 3 businesses, operates them right there in Monroe, because being a Louisianian is important to Corey Barr. That's what makes him a champion of Louisiana. Surely you know somebody who's doing great work in our great state. We want to tell their story. LWCC wants to tell their story. So go to lwcc.com/champions and nominate a champion of Louisiana like Corey Barr. Corey Barr, a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana Loyal.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
It was a humid day. Barefoot children play. Looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Some kind of hold on me, like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before in a 2023 Infiniti QX50 at your local Infiniti retailer.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. Tigers back on the practice field. We'll have a practice report, and We'll recap Saints Chiefs. What did we learn? We'll talk about it Monday, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right. Been a good show here on this Monday. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. However you may be listening, do so on our app, on YouTube, do so on terrestrial radio. However you're accessing us, we appreciate you making us part of your Monday here. And hope your work week's off to a good start. We only have one order of business left, and that's take it or leave it.
All right, first one here. James Harden was speaking in China and claimed that Daryl Morey is a liar and added that he'll never play for an organization that he's a part of again. Take it or leave it.
I wasn't in the room when James and Daryl were chatting. I'll take that he said it. But, it appears that Harden took a little bit of a team-friendly deal on the front end here and was expecting to get a max offer.
Right.
And this just kind of been like, I don't think so. Sixers like, I think we'll pass on that. And if that's the case, and he did say they were going to do a max offer, then that's, he did lie. Maybe Harden's remembering a little differently. I don't know. I do know that the NBA has significant issues with the way that its salaries and the team's ability to pay is structured. I do appreciate very much that they've attempted to help the small markets by keeping the superstars there and allowing them to be the only teams that can pay him the supermax. The fact of the matter is that what's happening, and it's not the case here with Harden, is that guys are signing the supermax and then demanding to be traded.
Yes.
Which is not what they were trying to accomplish. And Harden's obviously really cranky with the Sixers because of whatever went on there. And it just feels like 65% of the stars in the NBA are just furious all the time. Or demanding out and to be that's a problem. When half the stars in the league hate their situation, you've got an issue. And I don't know how to fix that to make everybody happy. I mean, it's just a mess. And Harden's in a weird spot because he's still pretty good, but he's not what he was in Houston.
He's not supermax good.
Yeah, he's not what he was in Houston. So he wants that kind of money, and if you take that kind of money, you're going to be – it's almost impossible to surround him with good players. So if Harden obviously doesn't want to win, it's just a bad deal all around. It's tough when you're dealing with this much money. It's very rare that everybody's going to be on the same page with it, but clearly most of the people in the NBA are not, and James Harden's very much one of them.
It's too hot. Take it or leave it.
Leave it. I'm the only person on earth that's not complaining about this weather. This weekend, I went out and watched football practice for 2 hours. I played 18 holes of golf. I went for a long walk yesterday afternoon with Myers. I've lived here my whole life. It's August. It's hot. There's way too many people that I'm talking to on a daily basis that have grown up in Louisiana, and specifically South Louisiana. They're like, I can't. It's too hot out there.
Okay, but Hunt it is hotter than it usually is. You have to say that.
I can't tell the difference between 101 and 96. It's just hot.
It's
That's just what it
115.
is. It's not 115 degrees.
With heat index, it is.
That doesn't count.
Okay.
It's fine. Just drink some water. I will save all my complaining for January and February when it's 41 and gets dark at 5 p.m. I'll be in a bad mood, and y'all will all be all happy, and you'll eat your gumbo, and you'll sit on the couch and watch TV, which you could do now if you needed to. I like it to be daylight long. I like the warm weather. It's fine. You're going to sweat a little bit. I've been sweating for 35 years.
All right, moving on.
We got to calm down with the heat. It's fine.
5-star signee Trenton Flowers has decided to leave Louisville's basketball program to play professionally in Australia. Winter down under instead of the ACC. Take it or leave it.
I will leave it. I don't know what Trenton's financial background is, and I don't know what Australia is willing to pay him to do this for a year. And I don't know what his NIL situation was in Louisville. But if you're just comparing apples to apples with basketball, and one is to go play in Australia, and one is to go play in Cameron Indoor and try to make the NCAA tournament, that's not even a question. Not even a question. So I don't know what all the variables are. I don't know what we're talking about with with money, but there's no way I'm going to Australia for 10 months instead of playing in the ACC.
I guess he figures that considering he's already such a highly touted high school prospect that he's going to go play in Australia and probably play really well. And I don't think many people are going to be like, oh, he's playing in Australia, so he's not a good prospect for the NBA.
No, I think he'll be fine in that regard. But this is like a one-year deal, and nothing against people that want to travel abroad and see the world and do different things, and there's an aspect of it too. But like that life experience to me is not nearly as good as the ACC basketball thing.
Yeah.
So, and some people don't want to go to Psych 1001 at 7:30
Exactly.
after weightlifting. Like I get it. Just not for me.
Yeah. All right. Peyton Manning is going to teach a communications class at Tennessee this fall. Professor Peyton, take it or leave it.
I mean, you got to take this.
I'll take it.
I mean, like what was the website we used to be able to go to? Like rankyourprofessor.com or
yes,
something.
Rank
like
My Professor.
Yeah, and you could like check that out. Like you got Peyton Manning. I mean, you want to talk about a guy that's not going to take himself too seriously. Like I got sideways with my Greek mythology teacher in college because he thought he was teaching something that was really important, and in my head he was teaching story time, and he didn't really appreciate that, and like I got a little sideways there. Peyton's not going to do that. Peyton's going to be just fine. He's going to teach some communication class. He's going to tell great stories. That's the kind of teacher you want to have, and I bet Peyton's gives out a lot of A's.
Here's the only problem I foresee, because I took a class with James Carville, my teacher at LSU, and he was there for about 3 of the 30 meetings of the semester, so I could see that becoming an issue for Peyton Manning. I'm sure he's a very busy guy. So we'll see if he can actually make it to class and actually be there for the classes. I think that's the only problem I can see with it.
Yeah, I mean, certainly if he's not there, that kind of hurts you a little bit. But I think there's probably going to be a little bit of a wait list for that class. I think
definitely.
Be involved in that.
All right, last one here. Lucas Glover won his 2nd straight PGA Tour event, the FedEx St. Jude Classic, in a playoff. Glover for the Ryder Cup team. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it.
I'll take it.
I think he's got a real chance to make it. I think he's on the outside looking in right now, but if he plays well at the last 3 events, I think he's got a real chance to make it. Like it's going to be a Justin Thomas, Ricky Fowler.
I mean, can you remember anyone who's had a run like this at the end of the season to get on the Ryder Cup team?
Yeah, it happens. I mean, I couldn't give you one specifically, but it does happen, and that's something that I'm very curious to see how it plays out. This is the piece that we're talking about, it being too hot, and it was really hot in Memphis.
Oh my gosh!
The fact that he is playing without a golf glove,
I don't understand that.
Is blowing my mind. I know there's got to be some kind of spider tack situation, some kind of pine tar, whatever it is that you would do. But like, I of course, whenever I play golf, which isn't very much, I wear a golf glove, obviously. I went to Top Golf in Dallas one time, and I didn't have clubs or a glove or anything, so I just used their clubs, and I didn't have a glove. I hit balls for like 6 minutes, and thought I was going to throw the club down the thing on a follow through. I had to go buy a glove at the Top Golf front desk. That's not doable. So again, he's got to have some sort of stick-em on his hands in some way, but like that is mind-boggling to play golf in the South in August with no golf glove. That's just I
don't know how he
swamp. Did it. Well, that'll just about do it. I'm curious to see. There's a few interesting things about Lucas Glover. Did you know this about Lucas Glover? He won the U.S. Open. He was one of the top 50 players in the world.
Yeah.
And he got the yips putting. He could not putt.
Mm-hmm.
And he missed a lot of cuts. And his wife, after the Friday round at the Players, he missed the cut, was not playing well, and his wife was out there on the course all day, drinking all day. He got back to the house they were staying in, and his wife just lost it on him, attacked him. Then Lucas's mom tried to step in. She attacked her, got arrested, booked, the whole mugshot, the whole deal, because he wasn't playing well enough. So I think Mrs. Glover, if they're still together, we'll be happy to know that he's made $3 million in the last 2 weeks.
She probably won't be getting mad at him
I think that she can probably calm down. I think that's a good thing. The other thing, as I mentioned, the yips. If you look at some of the highlights of Lucas Glover trying to make 3-foot putts and the stroke that he was putting on him, like the real yips, like couldn't get the putter on line, like hitting it off the toe. Just a sad situation for Lucas. But he's now using that long putter that Adam Scott's gone to, and he's making some putts. So kind of a renaissance of his career in his mid-40s. Good for Lucas. All right, that's it for a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. If you missed any of our show, you can catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can also find us on Google as well as YouTube. Telling you every single day, subscribe to our YouTube channels, Hunt on LSU, Hunt on Saints. Both of them are 100% football. No baseball, no basketball, no all football. Hunt on LSU, Hunt on Saints. If you subscribe to those two channels, you can get your content daily right to your YouTube homepage. I gave my thoughts on LSU football practice on Saturday at 1 o'clock. We had sound from LSU defensive coordinator Matt House at 1:15. We talked Saints-Chiefs at 1:30 as the Saints get off to a really good start in preseason. Some recruiting talk with DeCorian Moore in, Wardell Mack out at 1:45. Cat Terrell jumped aboard to talk Saints at 2 o'clock. We did some Meet the Freshmen with Shelton Sampson and Javian Toviano before we got to the AP poll in the preseason All-American team. Fired up tomorrow. We'll have LSU head basketball coach Matt McMahon on the show to talk about their trip down to the Bahamas. We'll also hear from Glenn West and Sharif Ishak. Matt Moscona is about to drive you home on After Further Review. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench.